In my neck of the woods, a vampire leech is considered a must-have pattern, whether you tie it in its traditional version or balanced. Have you ever thought of taking that color scheme and applying it to a booby? You should. It's a killer. Let me show you how I tie it. So it's time to tie the Vampire Booby. I'm going to tie this on a Daiichi 1530 number 10. You could also tie this on a number 8. For tying thread, we're going to be using some of the Semperfli Nano Silk in a 6/0, because we don't want to use too fine a diameter on this because we don't want to cut through the booby eyes when we tie them in. So we're just going to get that down, get a good base, come in, trim off the excess. Down to about halfway between the point and the barb, the crushed down barb, and then take our tying thread forward up near the hook eye, and we're going to tie in the tail. And for the tail you could use marabou, but I really like to use on these shorter length tails that I like to tie my boobies. This is the base of a black Schlappen feather. So what I'm going to do to prepare this, you can see that this is relatively the same length and then it tapers off. So we're just going to take these shorter fibers and just totally remove them. I just pulled those out of the way. And then I'm going to basically strip and gather the remaining soft marabou-like fibers. I do not want to start using any of the more traditional Schlappen fibers that we normally use for fly tying. We want this marabou base that probably most of you throw away, but it makes excellent tail material for not only boobies like this one, but micro leeches and smaller flies with smaller tails, because you get the natural taper of the fiber working for you. You don't have to pinch it to length. So we're going to tie in a tail that is about from the eye of the hook to the bend of the hook. So we're just going to measure that up, transfer that measurement to the base of the rear of the hook, and that's where I'm going to tie it in. So I'm going to come in with my thumb and forefinger and trim away all that excess and tie this in place. Couple of wraps on top like so, and then just keep your hands on the material as you slide your thumb and forefinger back, keeping the material on top of the hook by lifting up slightly as you secure it back with some open turns. And you'll have a nice gathered tail like so. If you have a few errant fibers, which I don't really hear, you can pinch those out, but that's going to be just fine. So now I'm going to add some flash to the tail in the form of UV Pearl Crystal Flash. So I've got 2 strands. I'm just going to secure them so I have equal amounts of strands sticking out fore and aft of the tie-off point. I'm going to take the 2 strands immediately behind the tie-off point, hold them along the near side of the shank, and bind them down the side of the hook and subsequently the side of the tail. Going to come back forward, grab the 2 strands that are forward of the tie-off point, hold those back along the far side, and repeat the process so I end up with 2 strands along each side of the tail. And I'm just going to sweep everything together and trim the flash a little longer than the tail, just like so. For the body, we're going to use some Straggle string in black. Pull off about 5 inches or so. Tie that in right at the base of the tail. Come up, and I want to keep about 2 hook eye lengths clear right there. Don't crowd the head, and we're just going to form a body with the Straggle string, trying to make it as fuzzy and wiry as possible. And I do that by stroking the fibers back with each wrap, just to build this up. Just like so. Good firm wraps, one wrap right next door to the other, right up to that tying thread. Tie it off, a couple wraps over the top, a couple wraps in front, sweep everything back, trim away your excess. You got your body done. So to form the eyes, I'm going to take some booby cord and I'm going to trim it so it's roughly from the point of the hook to the eye of the hook. Just going to trim it like so. So it's a little piece. So you hold that in my thumb and forefinger. And then I'm going to hold it. Try to show you on camera. Usually do this off and just sort of spin and rotate each end of the booby cord into the jaws of the scissors, removing a little bit of material at a time just to round those edges off. And I'm going to repeat that turn the little section around and repeat it again. And what I'm doing is I'm just rotating the foam into the scissors blades. Scissors blades are remaining pretty well stationary, and I just spin the cord to round them. And you're probably fine to tie those in right like so, but if you want to add a little bit of further round them off, take a lighter and just carefully singe the edge. Don't overdo it or you can you just want to create a little heat and that'll further round them off for you. So to tie the eyes in place, I'm going to take the booby cord and place a couple of thread wraps around it and just cinch it tighter right in the midpoint. Got them sort of secured on the thread. And then I'm going to take some brushable super glue and apply a little bit of glue in between the hook shank and the booby eyes on the thread. And then we're just going to start winding that thread right behind the hook eye and hold that in place, and when they walk up there and secure them on top. So I've got those booby eyes, and now I'm going to come in and I'm just going to couple of wraps over the top from behind the eyes towards the hook eye. So our eyes are in place, and now all that's left to do is 3 to 5 turn whip finish. The tying portion of your Vampire Booby is complete. And then we're just going to add a little bit more super glue. I'm going to turn the eyes and just pull on them slightly down to expose the midpoint and get a little super glue in there. And then on the underside, just tap it right in on those thread wraps. And your simple, deadly little Vampire Booby is complete.